It's beginning to look a lot like a kitchen. It's really early. 6 a.m. at the moment. And it feels like midnight. The early lights. My cameras. My kitchen. Yeah. It's a Lisbon day, and that's why I'm up in this pitch blackness. These two are wondering why anyone needs to be up this early. This is Girl Meets Farm. Hello, and welcome to this new video. For those of you that were wondering, yes, Shiva still goes for his acupuncture appointments in Lisbon. And in December, it will actually be a year since we've been going. For those of you that don't know, Shiva suffers from a compacted spine, so his vertebrae press onto each other, which is very, very painful for him. So much so that last year, November, he was unable to climb stairs or put any weight on his hind legs. Obviously, I went to go see a specialist and we started acupuncture, a treatment of acupuncture and laser therapy in December last year. We had to go for weekly sessions and it's all the way in Lisbon. As his condition has improved, thankfully, we've been able to lengthen the time between appointments. And in the last couple of months, we've been able to get to once a month travel to Lisbon, which is a lot better than once a week. The trips are exhausting because I go up and down in the same day. And it's 3.5 hours down and 3.5 hours back. It gets pretty tiring, but you know what? It's totally worth it because now Shiva is walking, he's healed, he's running, he's playing as per normal, and this would not have been possible without the regime that he's on. He takes CBD for the pain and of course the regular acupuncture and laser therapy treatments together with physio and the massages that he gets all in the same appointment. It's been phenomenal. In this week's video, I geek out a little bit over my olive harvest this year. The kitchen starts to take shape. Not without issue though. Hey Tux. We have 2 days of really good weather. Well, 2 days of no rain I should say. So I'm gonna have to grab hold of those 2 days and make the best of them. Dust off my olive harvesting equipment because I have not harvested in 2 years. I didn't harvest last year. So it's time for me to go into this scary place and go and find my equipment. Hey Tobias. Perfect. I've had to fish this out from the cat domain and the domain of the spiders. So I got a new battery for this. It in theory should work. Right, let's get this set up. Okie Doing olive harvest single-handedly is not as much fun as when you have friends helping you do this. That's because everything just takes so much longer to get done when you're doing it by yourself. Putting the nets out, gathering the nets, gathering the olives, getting pelted in the eye by lots of olives, which I guess will happen whether you've got friends or not. But regardless, it's very taxing to do this. The process is definitely more fun with friends. And my friend Naluka came to join me for one of my 3 harvest days in exchange for the day that I assisted them with their harvest as well. I'm a bit of a numbers girl, so of course, naturally I made a spreadsheet to take a look at the figures from this year's harvest. Now, this year I managed to harvest 22 trees. It took me 3 days and I had 12 buckets of olives. Now, I compared that to my first year that I did my harvest because last year in 2023 I did not harvest my olives. So I only have 2 years to compare against, 2022 and 2024. And in 2022, amazingly enough, I thought 18 trees were a lot. Of the 18 trees, I managed to get 169 kilos of olives, which produced 15 liters of olive oil. And in 2024, I harvested 22 trees, which gave me 260 kilos of olives, 22 liters of olive oil. And of course, naturally, I worked out the ratios as well that I get from the lagars, and the difference, which is probably more interesting to you guys, in the kilogram difference and the difference in oil, percentage of olive oil as well, year on year. Well, we're comparing 2024 with 2022. My kilogram difference harvested was 153, let's say 154%. So that was an increased yield in over 50%. And the difference in liters gained was also 147%. So that's also close on 50%. That's incredible to me. So yeah, 22 liters of olive oil from this year's harvest. I think that's pretty amazing. And it makes all the effort so worthwhile. And just like that, everything is washed, cleaned, and dried out, ready to get packed away until next year. It's another exciting day on the farm today, and I barely slept because today is the day we're going to be putting the counters on the cupboards. But in order to do that, I think we may need to do a couple of changes. I'll see how it goes. I've already planned exactly how I want my butcher block to go on the cupboard, so we'll see if my plan works out. Fingers crossed. So excited. Because this was such a tricky install, I unfortunately didn't get a chance to take a lot of footage of this installation, but I will explain everything that happened in just a moment. So Gert is left for the day and I still have to clean up and just move everything back to where they go. But look behind the mess at this. it's beginning to look a lot like a kitchen. And I'm really stoked with it. There's still lots of fiddling and little tiny movements that I need to make and adjust on the doors and the cupboards to make them all align straight. But gosh, this was a far bigger job than either of us actually had expected this to be. Eventually, I had to take the original rails that I had on off. We had to balance the cupboards, align the cupboards. We put them all on feet. We had to get them all on the same level and align forward, because nothing in Portugal houses is straight. So this wall is bendy, that wall is bendy. This wall turned out to be more bendy than I thought it was. So let me show you what the problem with that is. But first, let me also explain. I wanted this butcher block counter to be at a perfect 90 degrees here. I wanted this 90-degree angle here because that always looks good on the eye. So when you see it from the front, it needs to look good. But what you're not seeing right now is that there is a massive gap between the cupboard counter and the wall. And this goes all the way around, but I have my 90-degree angle, which is what I wanted. We had to continue that, of course. I mean, we didn't have a choice to continue that because there's a gap here and this wall is more bendy than the other. But to continue the look, we had to keep this straight, and this cupboard also has to be a little bit more forward now, so this gap is like almost the size of my hand. I've already started thinking about creative ways to fill that gap at the back, and of course there will be tiles here as well, but the tiles won't be that thick. But I've already started thinking about what I can do with this, and I'm gonna think about it a little bit more to come up with something creative that works. But I'm confident that I can come up with a creative plan that also works and looks good for that back gap. But for the front, I am super happy. What I'm gonna do now is I'm going to be oiling the top. The counter, it takes 2 days for that to sink into the wood and dry out nicely. Gert is going to come back to help me put the sink in the sink cupboard, and then I can attach those doors. I'll also try and attach these doors before he comes back. I still have to connect the gas of my oven so that I can use the hob. And then if Gert comes back, he needs to help me build the 2-meter tall cupboards, because that is definitely a 2-person job. That's going to go over there. And I have another big piece of counter left over, because there's going to be another counter on that side. And then I might even have a little bit more to create a small island for myself, or use that for whatever else I decide to use that butcher block for. But here we are. I think this is really looking amazing already, despite the issues at the back. Just need to make adjustments.